have found us. More podcast, where we want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny and make an eternal difference. Now,
oh, hey, welcome to this week's podcast. Again, I want to invite all of our listeners to take the More Summer Challenge. Now, what that means is that you listen to this podcast every week, and we promise that you will feel more informed, more happy, and now with less calories, more healthy throughout the week. Welcome. We're trying our best always to make sure that you have a better summer, and we want to be part of it. So, like when you're going on the beach and you've won one of our little radios that we have been giving out, they're perfect to take to the beach and have it play out there while you're watching the wonderful sunset or whatever you're doing. Well, in studio today, a Northern Michigan legend, hide and seek champion in the Grandpa division, Pastor Gary.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I am the master in my house.
I've heard that you were pretty good at it.
Yes, I can hide in plain sight. It's great.
You know, for me, sometimes though, when I play hide and go seek, I try to pick spots that I don't have to like kneel down or crouch or get into weird positions. Right. Yeah, so I will find.
You know, I'm going to tell you about one spot that I hid, and then the kids just said, "Please come out." Okay, it was under the utility sink.
Really,
in our basement.
The utility sink.
Yeah, it's an open basin, so like there was nothing. I just put the bleach bottles and stuff in front of me.
Yeah,
and then I hid underneath. And they never could find me.
Really?
Yes, they finally just said, "Please let us find you." And
well, I think this is a good spot because there's a lot of things going on there that help you because there's cleaning products, which kids will not want to be around.
Right.
Anything they have to clean, no.
I actually taught a class to the CIA on how to hide in plain sight, but yeah.
He's got his camo ready. His ghillie suit is just himself. He doesn't really have to do anything else.
That's right.
Well, also in studio, after just finding out that carbs and carbon are not the same, Pastor Alex Norton. I'm here this morning. That was a.
You know what we should do?
Yeah.
I think you should introduce me, and I'll start introducing you.
I think we should do that. And you come up with something for me.
I will.
And I'll come up with something for you, and then we won't tell each other. We won't tell each other until we get here.
I like it.
Okay. So next week.
Okay, let me do one right now. I got one right on the top of my head.
There we go.
The only man who had to register his pair of shoes with a boat title, Pastor Alex Norton.
Yeah, I'm here. Woo!
There you go.
Hey,
I remember you as a ninth grader.
I know.
You had like, what size shoes do you wear? 14s or something?
Well,
like
I was 13s, yeah.
13s.
But they call me Thumper, yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it needed a registration for a boat title on the side of those shoes that you were wearing.
You remember, you were still coaching then, but you remember that one game we played at that really tiny gym?
Uh-huh.
And I had to throw the ball in.
Yeah, and there wasn't enough room.
There wasn't enough room.
Yeah, your heels were touching the wall, but your toes were over the line, and they whistled you.
They whistled me for that, yeah.
And you had to stand like a duck.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I remember that.
That's crazy.
I remember standing there going, what am I supposed to do?
I remember
my feet
that
in there.
Too. Oh, my gosh.
The out of bounds was so
adventures
tiny.
back in the day.
Well, and I just happened to be the tallest kid in the school. Now, that's not the case.
Right.
I mean, we have giants that go to the school now.
Yeah. And you are shrinking.
Yeah, I am sure. Yeah, that's what they tell me. As gravity's kicking in, you get smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the doctor the other day, and they told me I went from 6'2" to 6'1", and then 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is going on? So apparently that is real. All right, as we're talking about the Band of Brothers from last Sunday and how it is to get connected with each other and find ways to support each other in spiritual warfare, I noticed that a lot of businesses create what they call team building experiences to try to get people to connect.
Yes.
And we've done it at our offices. We do it sometimes in church to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it's extremely hard sometimes to rally the troops to do anything, especially when, the sun's out tempting us with such nice days. You don't really want to be inside.
Right.
You're like, I want to be out there at the beach. So now in attempting to keep everyone's mind on the job, some managers and foremen and bosses fail to hit the mark to get people motivated. And so here on More Podcast, we want to help people to not do the wrong ones that have been proven not to work well.
Right. Those are the ones that deflate morale instead
deflate
of helping.
Morale. Yeah. People want to quit their job after doing some of these. All right. So the first one, the top one that people have used for a long time and have stopped using because it doesn't work as well as it used to, and that is the trust fall. You remember?
Yes.
You've done the trust fall?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been to some of these before, and that was brought up a couple times, and I'm like, no, There's no way I'm going to let somebody catch me. You know, most of the time I work in offices where people are a lot shorter than me, and here I am, a 280-pound dude, and you're going to catch me for real?
Yep.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yep, I've literally seen that one fail.
Yeah.
And I saw a version of it called stage diving where a big guy was playing and he dove into the crowd and they were just not willing to catch him.
Yeah.
I saw that firsthand.
That would, yeah, I've
Face plant.
No. Yeah, you're going to go down.
Yep.
Sorry, buddy. You should have thought that through a little bit longer. Yeah, I gotcha. Well, there is perhaps no team building exercise more infamous than the trust fall, an activity whereby a person, if you don't know anything about this, closes their eyes, they cross their arms, and blindly fall backwards into the arms of their fellow colleagues.
Yes.
Not a good thing. So this team building activity has potential used to make you think that you have more faith in your fellow workers, but lately has more potential to leave you disabled on the team,
Yeah.
you know, when they don't catch you than anything else. And so it may not be one you want to utilize anymore. Get rid of the trust
Unless
fall.
you want to start parking closer to the door.
Right. Did they offer a workers' comp after a team building experience? I don't know. It's need insurance, good insurance if you're going to do that kind of stuff. But it also does not build camaraderie within a team and after you do this exercise because, you know, it just proves to everyone their suspicions are confirmed that they don't trust you like they didn't before, you know, because they know you're not going to catch them. So, yeah. So I don't think this one works at all. I mean, I think if you're going to try to do the trust fall, you better have like cushions behind you, maybe, you know, fail safes because 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to catch you. All right. The next one that corporations and jobs have tried to do, bosses have tried to utilize before is the infamous paintball afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah. This is one that's also an interesting thing. And this is where you basically take a group of people into a paintball arena, forest, whatever, and you shoot little balls of paint at each other, all in the attempts to...
At very high velocity.
Right. Very high velocity. Try to build a team cohesiveness. And so we basically give them the opportunity to act on their grievances with a paintball gun. I mean, you've got people that have been holding grudges for a while.
The sales department goes right for management every time.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Management goes down first.
Yeah.
Right. And then anybody that was kissing up after that, they're going down next.
Right.
So they shoot these tiny balls of paint at you going around 190 miles per hour or 280 feet per second.
Okay.
That's
humming.
Yes, humming. You're going to feel it. If
Have you ever played this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too. It's the first time I ever played it. I had no warm up or anything like that. I didn't know how accurate and how far those, the paintballs would go.
Yeah.
And so I climbed onto this brush pile. I thought I would be the recon guy and kind of stick my head up like a gopher and see where the opposing. I took it right in the forehead. First, I was in the game for like maybe 25 seconds and I'm out.
That's bad. That's bad.
I got the hang of it real quick.
You know, some of the games I play, they like to play this thing called reboot.
Okay.
You know,
where you can respawn yourself.
You can respawn yourself. Okay. Yeah. And so if you get hit,
are you impressed with my video?
I am.
Knowledge right there. That's the only word.
That was great. Yeah, I like that. I was thinking to myself whenever I played that, I'm like, if you get me, I'm out. I'm not going to stick around and respawn again just so I can keep shooting somebody. I mean, I'm going to step out of the game.
Okay.
So yeah, it was not a big incentive for me. So depending on the team level of experience, this could become a fun connection, or you could have the one on the team that plays too many war games on his PlayStation. And in either case, it's good. It's good to bruise up staff and basically not create, team, because everybody shows up on Monday.
Yep.
Basically look like they just got attacked. By something. So that's another one. Take that off the mix. And then we have the last one, which is the infamous rope course.
Yes.
I mean, how many bosses have tried to use a rope course to build team cohesiveness? Basically, if you want the team to become self-aware, empowered to act as one unit, well, then they always tell you to go to the ropes course. Since the 1990s, bosses have paid for their teams to head to course parks in hopes of igniting a venturous and courageous attitude at the work site. I don't think it's that way at all. No. Because, have you noticed every time you get that one person that is scared of heights, and then there's that one part of the rope course where you have to stand up in a tree and you have to kind of walk across this little bridge to get to the other side.
Yep.
And the boss is like, this is gonna be great because they're gonna be encouraging that person to go across there. But then you see a person with a full they just have a whole meltdown up there, and you're like, I have never seen Marjack like that in my life.
Right.
And Sometimes a little expletive comes out.
Yep.
You're like, this is not
and
good.
then the whole team's waiting for 4 hours for them to finally
Right.
climb down the ladder because they can't climb down.
Right, yeah, they can't climb down. They can't do anything.
They bring in airlift to get her off there. It's not good.
You got to send somebody up there to try to talk her down, and then the boss is like, I got dinner reservations for everybody, and we're going to miss them if you don't get down here.
Hostage negotiation.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It can turn real ugly real fast.
It does every time.
Yeah.
That one person turns into, and then nobody really gets anything out of it because you're all thinking about the horror that you just experienced with Marge, who will not come down up the tree.
Right.
And yeah, it's not good. So the downside is that it does bring out the worst in some staff and makes PR videos and photos difficult to use, because if you don't want to show other people that this is the staff that we have here at whatever, and you got Marge up there just freaking out,
right?
And you got to bleep everything she says through the whole thing.
You just leave her up in there, and then you have the team go over and then take the picture so she's in the frame, but she's still up in the tree.
She's try to get her at one point where she's smiling or smile crying. That looks really good, right?
Okay.
Because you're like, wow, she's really emotionally invested in that. Something to think about. Well, we have with us on the phone Mr. Joe Tath, one of our favorite podcast listeners. Are you there, Joe?
I am. Because I was the first, am I the favorite?
You are,
Is that
definitely.
how that works?
I think that's how it works. And you were one of the first listeners. I mean, we were only getting in about 10 or 11 downloads. You were in there.
And I'm sure you have some experience with these team building events with your career in the past.
Yeah, I was really laughing. Paintball.
Yeah.
I would never, ever sign up to go paintball with the people I work with.
Right.
Not in a million years. Like, I mess with people all the time. I can only imagine, like, it'd be like 10 on 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like to prank and stuff. So the last thing I want is to have someone be able to shoot me at work.
I think we're all on the same page with you on that.
Joe, you'd be like, hey, Bill, I thought we were on the same team. He's like, yeah, I'm taking you down.
Yeah.
Just turns right in the foxhole and gets you.
A lot of close range shooting going on. Have you ever been to a team building experience where you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever was a part of?
Oh, the funniest thing is at basic training, they had this scripted thing they did, and they had us put our bags together, and they had us do it alone first, and of course we couldn't get it right because we didn't know the standards. And then told us the standards, and they had you get a buddy. That didn't work, and then they had us work all together, and it worked. But it was I understood what they were trying to say, but they didn't. The execution wasn't good. Like, the guy didn't know the script right, so he kept messing it up. Like, oh no, he's messing with us.
You're like, what is going on? This is not team building.
I was really tired of doing push-ups for that day, so I just let it go. But
yeah,
I was just like, this is not good.
Oh, I love it.
Did he want you to do a trust fall right after that?
Oh, we fell a lot that day. A lot of times you got to catch yourself and just start pushing against the ground.
I love it. Well, I think we've all experienced those great team building experiences. I'm glad that Pastor Gary doesn't make us go through those things, so we don't have to worry about doing any of the things on this list. But there was a time where, people thought they were the greatest things ever. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're coming back, but a lot of people say it's not worth it. You do whatever you want with this information. Like, again, here on More Podcast, we go above and beyond to make sure that you have more information. But the reason why I have Joe Tath on the phone is because we are excited to say that you are going to be a part of the Harbor Light team.
I am.
You're joining the Harbor Light team this school.
That is 100% accurate.
So what are
really
you doing?
excited.
What are you going to be doing?
So I will be teaching PE.
All right.
Getting the swordsman in some really good shape and having fun along the way. I'm also helping out as in the athletic department, helping out Josh so he doesn't have to go to every single game, although I talked to him yesterday. He likes to go to every game, so imagine that I'll be working. He'll just be a fan of the stands.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with my pedigree, I'm going to be helping out in security. So I'm wearing a couple hats and just super excited.
That's awesome. And you are coming from the sheriff's department, right, to us?
Correct.
Yeah. And you served in that for how long then?
So my pedigree is I've been in the uniform since I was 19 years old.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't want to do the math. It's been over 20 years.
Wow.
So I was in the service for 7. I was in the Army for 7 years, and then I did ever since 2008, I've been either a correction officer or a sheriff's deputy.
Wow. Well, let me just say I feel very safe right now.
Yeah.
That you'll be walking the hallways of Harbor Light.
And Joe, we are super excited and welcome aboard, and you're going to have a great time. And it's actually a wonderful thing to be able to wear multiple hats because your days will never be boring, I promise you.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to this new job. I've been telling everyone I meet. I told this lady yesterday at Walmart I was getting it's my daughter, Charlie, I call her Peanut's birthday tomorrow. So I bought her a big Power Wheel, and I had this big Power Wheel in this cart, and I'm pushing past this lady who has like 4 kids, and they're all so well behaved, and we strike up conversation. And so the world goes, that's why I'm homeschooling. And I said, that's why I'm retiring from my job and going to teach at Harbor Light and giving my daughter that education I know she deserves. And she goes, I just toured Harbor Light.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah, it was so crazy. Got so cool when it comes to that kind of affirmation stuff. So I'm so pumped. I'm so excited.
That is awesome.
I can't wait.
Well, I look forward to seeing your smiling face around here. I know we've gotten to know each other over the last few months, and I'd love our conversations, and you are an amazing fan of our podcast, and we appreciate you.
I am a mega fan. I did wear you guys on my shirt.
Yes.
At church.
I saw that, and we actually even got a picture. I was trying to get Pastor Gary, but, on Sundays he's super busy, so I wasn't able to get him in the picture. But, yeah, you've got one of our new podcast T-shirts that says "Now with less calories" on it, and I think it looked really good on you because you have basically no calories. If I would have wore it, like I've told you before, if I wear that shirt, the faces are a little spread out a little bit more, but on you it looked good.
Well, listen, I'll be around a lot more. Maybe you come by the gym and you come and help me out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, just kind of remembering back on some of our past conversations, what's like the most number of burpees or push-ups or something? Didn't you do something crazy one time and almost put yourself in the hospital?
Oh, I did. I had a condition called rhabdomyolysis.
Yeah.
Which means I worked out so hard my body was killing itself.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I used to be a big CrossFit. I used to teach CrossFit. I was an instructor, and when you put me in a competition, I'm just a knucklehead sometimes. Put my head down and
lose.
Pain is temporary, victory's forever. So
That's right.
I was just going, and my doctor's like, no, you're gonna go to the hospital now. So,
no.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I used to do like 100 burpees for time just for a workout.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I burp, but I don't do burpees. I'm sort of with you a little bit there, but
they're almost the same thing.
They're almost the same thing. I was just thinking of a quote from a very well-known movie that, when you play dodgeball, I'm sure you're going to be one of those teachers that if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball kind of thing.
Yeah, I've been looking at the tools what I'm going to bring to the school.
You're committed. You are committed.
I am.
Well, I look forward to seeing you around the school. I know you're going to be a blessing to these kids. They have no idea what a gem we have in you. And, I just want to touch base with you. And, happy birthday, Peanut.
Well, thank you so much. And, guys, I love this podcast so much. I was just sitting in my chair. You had me on hold. I'm like, secret viewing of the podcast. It's fantastic. I love you both very much.
You get to hear what we edit out before it goes on air. Yeah.
Oh, barely anything.
All right, my brother. You have a good day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Love you both.
Love you too. Bye. Well, that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was great.
I think that, he's going to be a major asset to the school.
For sure.
And, he's also 9 feet tall.
Yeah, he's a big guy for sure.
So it's going to be a lot of good times. We're going to take an ID break. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for more? Well, then you found it right here on More Podcast. Stay tuned.
Well, we are going to get ready to take our time in the Rapture Ready News. And before we do, I just wanted to say a quick word to all the seniors that graduated last Sunday.
Yes, we are in open house season.
And, well, you know what? We just want to say on behalf of the More Podcast, Pastor Gary and myself, we were just so excited to get to know you guys. I know, Pastor Gary, you took them out on Monday.
Yes,
right?
We went out on Grads Night Out, a long-term, over 44 years we've been doing that here at Harbor Light. And so we took them out, had a great time. We did do axe throwing and up in Mackinac City, and had a great time. We did some escape room events, and also there was an electric hot seat and a laser tag room and pizza. So we had a great time.
Electric hot seat? What is that?
Yeah, you sit in this glass case,
Okay.
and there's an electric chair in there that you have to hold this button down, and then you have to one-handedly plug in all of these plugs in the wall and get the right combination as fast as you possibly can, and then turn the circuit off. And if you do it wrong, it will give you a nice little psst, and fog comes down in the room, and alarms go off, and all kinds of crazy stuff.
That sounds like what I've seen in
very
videos
fun.
when they do the monkeys, right? To teach them how to get the banana.
Yeah, exactly.
This is okay.
Yep.
Maybe we can incorporate that into exam week here at Harbor Light School. That'd be kind of fun. All right, we're going to go into our Rapture Ready news.
Get Rapture ready with your favorite host today, Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex Norton, as they come to you with information that you need to make it through the times coming ahead and more.
All right, Rapture Ready news. We got an interesting subject. And it was brought up a little bit earlier. Colonel Bucci gave us, I think, a preview before it actually hit the news, because it just hit the news last week.
Okay.
And it's talked about just yesterday. But U.S. and Israel are outraged as Iran elected rapporteur to UN International Security Committee. UN has reached a new low. Basically, they've been put in positions of authority in the UN, two major ones. From W News, prompting outrage from Israel and the United States. Iran was last week elected to two leadership roles in the United Nations, including as a reporter to the committee responsible for disarmament. I got to say that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
disarmament. Yeah. And international security. Al Jameer reports that the second position to which Iran was elected on Thursday last week is that of a vice president of the UN General Assembly, which is a big position. In a statement about Iran's election to the Committee on Disarmament and Security, U.S. Alternative Representative for Special Political Affairs Ambassador Robert Woods said not only was Iran unfit to serve as the committee's rapporteur, but that the committee's purpose is to address the very security problems that Tehran, which is in Iran, itself perpetuates, citing Iran's support for Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, its nuclear program, and its export of violence, death, and destruction to other countries. Woods, who is a part of the United States, said, "It is absurd beyond contemplation that Iran would serve in a position of leadership on the General Assembly's Committee on Disarmament and International Security." Are you kidding me?
Exactly. This is the
What?
This is the literal fulfillment of what we call wrong right and what we call right wrong. We're seeing it over and over and over. And this, first of all, the UN has almost no credibility anywhere in the world. And I've seen them in action in the nation of Haiti. And then to do something like this is just completely backwards.
Yeah. I mean, if you read the article even more and what this really affects is that they can bring sanctions against Israel,
right,
with the power of the UN. So they don't have to do any more dropping bombs or, trying to, create any more terrorist attacks or whatever. They can do it by law, according to UN national law or international law. And they have the backing of all these other nations. This is ridiculous. So the only two out of the whole group of nations that are represented there were Israel and the U.S., who said, whoa, this is not right. We don't want them in charge. And yet they put them in charge. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, are people watching the same news we watch?
I think in any credible, I think any administration that would let this happen, we should pull out.
Yeah.
100%. That, this is the culmination of everything that has been said for a long, long time, that the UN is, it's worthless.
Yeah, I mean, and basically they just prove it to us at least, and Israel. They really have no support in there, I guess, other than the U.S. right now.
Exactly.
And basically they're just in the crosshairs of everybody in that room.
They should pull out as well.
I would. I mean, well, I was reading another article about the U.S.'s support of it. We do support quite a bit of the UN budget.
$1 billion.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we pulled out, it would definitely be noticed. But it should be done, and I don't think there's any talk.
Our former president wanted to pull out.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any talk right now.
Was in the process of doing so.
Well, I have not heard anything about Biden stepping up and saying, "Hey, let's do this," other than Wood basically spoke on behalf of America. But as far as the White House administration, nothing's been said yet. But I'm just like, are you kidding me? The two most powerful positions.
Yeah, they were still trying to figure out which pronoun to use on the letter.
Well, the one that's the repertoire, that basically is a reporting person of what's said in closed doors meetings to the rest of the group. And that person's from Iran, which means that, do I trust what they say when they come to the general committee? Probably not. And then you have the vice president, the vice person of this group, who has a lot more control than our vice president does in that situation. They're in control now from Iran. I mean, it's just, I'm living in the Twilight Zone, man. I'm just like, what is going on?
I'm telling you, the rapture is coming faster than you realize.
I know. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at that, that has never happened. Think about the implications of the whole thing. We have just elected a terrorist group to run what's supposed to protect us from terrorist groups. Yeah. Right. And we've said, okay, you're going to be in charge. It's like putting the fox in charge of the hen house. Hey, I'm sure they won't do anything wrong. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is getting out of hand. I don't know. We need to start praying really hard that Jesus comes back. Come, Lord Jesus. What is it? Maranatha, get here. We need you here soon. But definitely be praying for it, because the nation that's definitely going to be affected by this decision is Israel.
Yes.
Because now they have no defenses whatsoever other than the U.S. And we're not doing a very good job right now in our administration as it is.
Right.
So they're kind of standing out there by themselves. And if you're asking, what are some of the things that are going to lead up to the end times? You're looking at it happen right now, where Israel's going to be standing by itself and doing all kinds of things.
I'm a big supporter of a ministry in Israel for people evangelism, and I just got a pin. I get this pin for my support almost every year, and it's the U.S. flag and the Israeli flag connected. And I was going to contact them about maybe getting 400 or 500 of those pins and trying to hand them out to the people at Harbor Light.
That'd be great. Yeah. Definitely, and get people just to remind you to pray.
Yeah. Pray
for Israel, definitely, because they need it. Well, we're going to take an ID break and come back with our big question. If you guys are, do you remember the question from last week?
Not yet.
Well, he's going to come to him while we're in the identity break.
Well, here's how to have more. Know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny, and make an eternal difference. You're listening to More Podcast. Looking for a go-to eatery that has awesome food? Well, Paper Station in downtown Harbor Springs is sure to have your next favorite. From their signature station burger to the golden crispiness of a hand-dipped onion ring, enjoy the flavors that make this a must-stop today. Paper Station.
This is where we break it in again.
We are on a roll today.
I'll edit all this out.
Okay.
All right, we're back with our big question for, this week's Bible trivia. Now, if you're wondering how we answer this question or how you get it on air or get it to us, all you have to do is write to harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase, harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, and send us your guess. And we have a few that answered last week's. We have Dave Carafino, who answered it, Mary Wood, and of course, we have Joe Tath, Nikki McCune, Alan Kuberski. I never can say his name right. I just call him Alan. Kuberski. Ben wrote in again.
Ben got in it again.
He got in again.
I thought maybe once he got his Bluetooth speaker, he was going to be gone.
No.
Okay.
Because he learned that we got some other new podcasts.
Okay.
And then Linda Murray, of course,
Yes.
is in there again. So these all got it right.
Uh-huh.
And so, Pastor Gary, the question was from last week.
Yes. What's the minimum number of people that need to be gathered together in the Lord's name to have Jesus' presence right there? And the answer is 2.
2.
Yep. The reference is 2 or 3, where 2 or 3 gather together, I am there in their midst. And that is from Matthew 18, verse 20. And so, way to go, everyone, for getting that.
I know,
one
that's
correct.
good. Hand clap on that.
Again,
Good job.
just to break that one out a little bit, I just actually had my very first ever tick on me.
I know, just watching you pick it off right now.
Yeah, right now, just felt it crawling up the back of my neck. Never had that before in my life, but I was out doing some trimming this morning. Okay, thank you, Jesus. So
It's not a Lyme tick.
Yeah.
Not a Lyme tick. Name
so
Jesus.
the idea here isn't the fact that you have to have 2 people together to have Jesus present.
Yeah.
Okay, but that is the promise that he will be there. The point is unity. Unity is the point that's trying to be made. I listened to some pretty famous pastors actually kind of debunk this verse and try to say
no.
it doesn't mean what it means, but it does mean that the Lord's presence is there, and he's really into unity. And where you are unified with other believers, his presence is magnified.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you bring that up because I was listening to a podcast of some preachers from back in the day because I like to listen to some of these old Pentecostal preachers, and he was talking about the 2 or 3 thing and tying it back to Deuteronomy about the 2 or 3 witnesses.
Yeah.
And he was saying it was only good for adjudicating issues within the church, which I don't agree with. But I mean, I can see how they can make that connection.
Yeah, there is a connection, but that isn't the main point.
But that's not the main point. Yeah. And if you read the whole scripture in context, you would definitely see it a little bit different. A little bit different. It's not so that you can get somebody in trouble or take them to court within the church. But yeah, there is that conversation going on out there, and I guess it's been taught for quite a while because that pastor preached in the 40s.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the answer, and I just read to you all these names of people that did it and got it right. I'll edit that out. Oh my gosh, allergies.
How's your lung?
Oh my gosh, the allergies and the pollen and stuff.
Okay.
And so we have a new question this week for all of our listeners.
Yes.
And they're growing.
Yeah.
The people that are at least writing in are growing because normally it's only like 1 or 2. But they're all getting hungry for these
And
podcasts.
I think you're kind of picking up on the fact that they like them a little bit harder.
They do.
They do.
I do.
So I've got a hard one for you.
Oh, here we
and
go.
And this, again, will be setting up for this weekend's message. And I'm going to give you the reference. I think I should probably give you the reference. The reference is 1 Samuel chapter 30. Where is David's home encampment? What's the name of David's home encampment in 1 Samuel chapter 30?
Oh.
Yeah, so it's the name of a location or a place.
And if you give it to us in the Hebrew.
Yeah.
Exactly. Double points.
Right.
Yeah, you might win some gospel bucks.
Do you have to speak Hebrew to do it? I mean,
no,
is that what you mean?
You just got to write it out.
Okay, write it out.
Yeah, just write it out in Hebrew.
In Hebrew, in the Hebrew language with all of the ups and downs.
Do it, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I'll translate it on Google because I'm not very good with that stuff.
I saw you wearing some kind of a Hebrew hat yesterday.
Yeah, Yeshua. It's my Yeshua hat.
Oh, cool.
No, we went to this thing called Sun Frogs in Gaylord. And they're like selling all these clothes like dirt cheap, right? Because they're like misprints or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But they have some that are fine. They just nobody picked up the rest of the order. And so I'm looking through this thing.
Did you check your hat to make sure it's not Jesus with a G?
Probably just chicken soup or something. I don't know. But it's it says Yeshua on it, and then we got a bunch of Star Wars hats too.
Okay.
That they just didn't. I mean, I don't know. Somebody didn't pick them up. Some of them are misprints. You have some that say Tatooine, and Chubiki. We didn't take those, but they were there. I mean, it would be fun to have some of those. But yeah. Okay, so we want to know where David in 1 Samuel 30 basically had his encampment.
Yep.
And if you have the answer to that, send it to us at Harborlight BibleTrivia at gmail.com. Harborlight BibleTrivia at gmail.com, all lowercase. And we would love to put you on air and let people know that you're a brilliant theologian, right? I mean, because I think it's okay. I mean, we give people trophies for running and all that stuff. We could say, hey, you did a great job. But if you did answer it wrong, I'm not going to tell people who that was. But, people like Ben, they don't really care if we put them on here if they make the wrong assumption about a text. It's okay. We love Ben anyways. He won last week, the whole speaker and stuff. We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hey, you want us more? some more wood? No, you want some more? I haven't had anything yet, so how can I have some more of nothing? You're killing me, Smalls. Please, sir. I want some more.
Well, has the winter done a number on your beautiful floors in your home? Well, Hamels Flooring, with their expert touch of Cliff Haas, is sure to have an answer for you. With a large exclusive collection of carpet and vinyl flooring, your floors will look better than new. That's Hamel Flooring here in Petoskey. Well, here we are in Bible Talk this week, and we're on week 6 of a 7-week series on spiritual warfare. And we're talking about this idea of being part of a band of brothers, or as Pastor Gary said on Sunday, sisterens, which, brothers or sisterens. And so we're talking about creating connections in the body of Christ that can help in your spiritual battle. You can't fight a spiritual battle all by yourself. Of course, you have obviously Holy Spirit and the whole Godhead on your side, but you also need people that he has raised up as support within your community of faith. That's why we have churches. You can't be a church unto yourself. You have to be a part of a community. And so Pastor Gary brought us into this idea of band of brothers. And so I thought today would be kind of interesting with you doing your story. And I wanted to bring it up here, some background music, and do the whole thing right. Are you game for it?
I will give it my best.
Okay. So I'm going to cue up some background music as you give the story. That was pretty epic. I know my wife, who's not into history, she perked up a little bit, but I was into it. So here is the story Pastor Gary shared on Sunday. I'm going to give a little background music, see if this works for you. How's that work? All right. So I'm going to give you the microphone. You just go with it. There you go.
The sheer size and scale of this war was unprecedented. Over 30 countries were at battle and warring against each other. Now, every time a new war comes along, new ways to maim and kill soldiers comes to the forefront. And this war was no different. There were trenches etched into the earth's surface stretching for miles. Airplanes fought in dogfights overhead, and tanks rumbled the ground and mowed down everything in their paths. But worst of all, gas. Poison gas. It flowed into the trenches like the angel of death, sucking up the life of 100,000 soldiers and leaving 1.3 million more blind or with irreversible lung damage. Now, when most men go to war, they do it because of patriotism or trying to avenge evil. But along the way, relationships are formed. In basic training, you get to know one another. And then during battle, those relationships are deepened and hardened. Privates McMillan and Wright were two of those kind of men. They went through basic training together and now had fought next to each other for over a year. They had a deep relationship. They knew about each other's past and their future hopes and dreams. And you can imagine the heart and horror that fell upon Private McMillan when he saw Private Wright go down with a bullet wound. Private Wright was able to make it back to the trench. All the while, bullets were whistling over top of his head. He asked his Lieutenant Williams, "Would it be okay if I went back to get my fallen buddy?" He said, "No way. Are you out of your blasted mind? He's probably dead, and you'll just be throwing away your life. It's just not worth it, and I cannot afford to lose any more soldiers." But Private McMillan just couldn't sit there any longer. He tossed his rifle to the side and climbed out of that trench and started making his way to get his buddy. All the while, Lieutenant Williams ordered cover fire to cover him as he made it on his mission. He only had to go 250 feet, but it seemed like a mile as he went up and over different bomb craters He weaved his way around barbed wire and even had to step over other fallen soldiers who had died. He picked up Private Wright, put him over his shoulder, and made his way back. As the two of them tumbled into the trench together, Lieutenant Williams checked over the wounded soldier, and his heart sank. And he looked right into the eyes of Private McMillan, and he said, "I told you, he's dead. And now look at you. You're mortally wounded. It wasn't worth it. I knew it wasn't worth it." But then Private McMillan looked into the eyes of Lieutenant Williams, and he said, "But sir, it was worth it." How could it be worth it? Because when I got to Private Wright, he was still alive. And I heard him say, "I knew you'd come back for me."
That's good. That is good. Now, see, the music, I think,
It helps.
It made it so much better.
Okay.
Because when you go into the God Bless America, that's when that's when they start right
Okay.
there.
If I would have just had the soundtrack, I probably
If
would
you
have been
would
able
have
to
the
get
soundtrack,
Pastor Amy to cry.
She would have, I think she might have, because,
But
music.
there was a crack there, though, you said.
There was a crack. Yeah, she
Okay.
did get into it, and she, when you got to the end of it, that's when it's kind of like, oh my gosh, that was pretty good.
Okay. Okay.
And she actually said to me, she goes, "Tear, get back in my, Tear, don't come down." That was amazing. That story is it's so packed with all kinds of interesting things about it, because, that person, if you think about World War I, right?
Yes, World War I.
And the battle that's going on there, you go across the what do they call it, the dead man's area, or the dead man's zone?
Yep. No man's zone.
No man's zone. You're not going to make it. I mean, those bullets are coming at you so fast, so many, even without all of the other chemical warfare.
Right.
And so he knew. I mean, he had to have known.
And
Yeah.
I put a picture of this up on the screen when I was doing the story, of course.
Yeah.
And their face masks that they wear, the gas masks that they wear, were two separate glass eyes that were like,
Yeah.
they didn't fit on anybody right. So he has to run across and get his buddy, probably only being able to see out of one eye.
Yeah, and he does it and gets him back, and of course he's mortally wounded. But
most terrible design of a gas mask, I think, that
They're
you could
all-
possibly
there are a
come
lot
up
of
with.
things, man. I tell
Right.
you, the boots. Did you? I can't remember who was telling me this, but somebody's telling me. Maybe it was Steve. But the boots, they never put tread on them. They were just slapped on. There was basically just leather layered boots that didn't have tread yet. And it wasn't until later on, though, where they finally figured out that these guys are slipping and sliding in the mud because they have no traction to move. And so it was not an advantage for them, because when they run out of the trenches, they're like sliding and slipping like on ice.
What's crazy is I wrote a story for this series, but didn't end up using about trench foot.
Really?
Yeah. I wrote a whole big story about that, but didn't end up using that.
That's not a good thing, though, right?
Trench foot is bad.
It's bad. You can lose a leg that
Wet.
way.
Yeah, because your feet are constantly wet and dirty, and you get infections. And 30,000 soldiers had to go home because they couldn't walk.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad I'm not in that era, and I'm glad that the people that served. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
I don't think anybody's still alive from there, but we'll just say it anyways. Thank you to their grandkids who remember them every year. But you got into some really key thoughts about how to build that band of brothers, if you will, within the community of faith.
Yeah.
And you did recap over the last 5 weeks, but the things that I thought were interesting, how you encapsulated the thought, which was interesting. And the first thing you brought up was praying with others. Can you dig into that? I want to do that with all of the points that you made, because I think they're all really very powerful within themselves. But I just want to give that title that you put up there, prayer with others. What did you mean when you're talking about how that was an important part of being in the band of brothers?
Yeah. So there's, as I mentioned, that public speaking is like the number one fear that people have in general. And then there's inside the church, there's kind of like the fear of praying out loud in front of other people. And I really think that we miss out on a lot when we're letting our fears motivate us versus our faith. And so I want to encourage people that a conversation with God is a prayer.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about saying the words just right or making sure you've got all your, Bible verse quotes down correctly. Just have a conversation with God and do that in front of others. And what that will do is it will give an indicator of what's going on in your heart, where you're at, and it'll allow other people to come alongside of you
Yeah.
and to be there with you and to support you on whatever it is you're doing. So in all of our small groups that I'm aware of here at Harbor Light, we do an exercise called praying around the circle.
Yep.
And so everyone says the one thing that they need prayer for the week, and then we go back around the circle and you pray for the person either on your right or your left, and you're praying out loud in front of others.
Yeah.
And that's a real stretch, but you're only doing it in a group of about 12 people or so. And so I have heard a lot of people grow tremendously from the experience of praying in a group out loud and connecting with God and connecting with others. And so it's a really powerful exercise to do that.
Yeah. One of the things that I mentioned in our small group that we have is that when we do that, a lot of times what we're doing is we're building the intimate connection that we need to have within the small group, right?
Yes.
Because if you can kind of isolate yourself and keep quiet the whole time, nobody gets to know you, and you really don't, get to know other people because you're not having that conversation. You're not building community. And I remember we had some people come to our small group, and they're all real quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we've done it for about a year, they're very much a part of the conversation, very much sharing what's going on, and that does require trust, right? I mean, if I'm going to pray with other people, I'm going to share my prayer request. It's not like a trust fall, but it is a real form of trust that we are committed to each other enough that I can. You mentioned this later on in the message about being vulnerable, being available in that situation, which is a key to having that band of brothers be built within your community. Yeah. And you do see it. I think now that, I think I gave you a statistic a while back that we're at 78% of our churches is part of a small group. Yeah. Which is phenomenal compared to a lot of other churches when they talk about their statistics. The average church, I was looking at, the average church is around 32% of their population is part of a small group. We're at 78. So we have a lot of people that are experiencing this idea of community. Yeah. Like other churches don't. Right. And I think it's very, very much apparent within our community to see people, the way they talk to each other, the way they pray for each other, the way they're so vulnerable and open to each other. So,
well, I think all of the pieces come together to help foster that kind of response from people. We have a small group ministry, and then you as a staff member, you are leading a small group, and so they see that by example. Our Free Life ministry helps support the idea of vulnerability and trustworthiness, and so we have all of these pieces that are going together that help kind of foster that idea that I need to be in a faith community with a smaller group of people. Yeah. So at Harbor Light, we're constantly trying to grow smaller, constantly.
I was just going to say that's your catchphrase for that. Yeah. We're not trying to be bigger. We're trying to be smaller. And I think that's so key when people get that in their head. I mean, because obviously we're about 500 people here. We're not very small compared to a lot of churches, but we are small in the sense of our community. Right. We do get to know each other very well, which is important. Yeah. Which is very important. And then another one that you gave, which was interesting, is that your header was marriage and Christianity. Yeah. What in the world does that have to do with Band of Brothers?
Well, it's the idea of serving. And so when we're in unity together and we're serving one another, then we get a chance to see a lot of boundaries come down, a lot of barriers come down when we serve. And inside of marriage, when we are approaching marriage in the sense that this is what I can get out of it, either friendship or intimacy or whatever it might be, people are trying to always get something out of it, right? Yeah. And a lot of people are trying to get something out of Christianity or out of church. Yeah. And instead of, we need to flip it, and this is what I'm here to give. Here's how I'm here to serve, both in marriage and in Christianity as well. And if you do this in marriage, if you have a contest with your spouse on who can outserve the other person, you have to both be committed to it, because at the moment somebody starts, taking advantage, then it does start to fall apart. But we are here to serve one another, and your marriage will be the most incredible relationship you could ever imagine if that's your approach.
I loved how you brought that up. And when you were talking, the one thing that came to my mind, and it's just something that's been a part of my own personal study for my own devotional life, but this idea of covenant connection. We see that when God establishes his relationship with us, it is under a covenant heading. It's not just, I'm going to hang out with you and be your God. He wants to establish a binding relationship. And I think it's interesting, like when we talk about this idea of being band of brothers, being a part of a marriage, giving and getting, the responsibility that we have to each other is not that we just show up to church or maybe we're part of some activity together. But when I see you on Sunday, we're in a covenant relationship. I'm committed to you just like I would be committed to anybody else that I've had that kind of a strong relationship with.
Right.
And I tell you, that is so counter to our culture today, right? Because how many times do we hear people say, I love you, I love you, I love you?
Yeah.
That word's becoming so overused that, it really doesn't mean like what it used to anymore. But when I come to church on Sunday and somebody puts their arm around me and says, hey, I love you, that to me should mean a lot more than the way I've been hearing about it in the world. That love means I'm invested in you. I care about you. I'm looking to protect and also provide, trying to find ways to be a part of your life. And we see that happening here at Harbor Light. I know that you've seen in your small group. I've seen it in mine. The more you begin to build this, you start connecting in those ways more, raising money, helping with the families. We've had a lot of families in this church that have been gone through either death or sickness, and a lot of our small groups have stepped up. It's just one of those things that it should be eventually implied when you start realizing the importance of this relationship. So, and even though it's kind of interesting, that title, Marriage and Christianity, might catch you off guard because you're like, what are you talking about? I think most believers in the church on Sunday really got the idea that we're talking about a covenant connection.
Yeah.
Just like those two guys in the field. I mean, I don't think they were just friends. They had a commitment to each other that went beyond friendship.
Right. Yeah. I just spoke with someone in the last couple of days that, they're leaving. Oh yeah, I know who it was. An old golf coach from another high school that I used to be a buddy with. He's actually going to retire and move to Alabama and work for one of his guys that he was in the service with. And 25 years later,
wow!
And he's going to go work for him, and he's looking forward to it. So just that commitment and that kind of relationship that gets committed and fortified in serving together really goes a long ways.
Yeah, and like you just brought up there, we have people that have relationships here, and they may not talk to each other every Sunday. But if I went up to them and said, I need your help, and you mentioned that on Sunday, who do you have?
Who would respond if you need help in the middle of the night, right?
And it was interesting when you said that, because a lot of people's heads were shaking. Like, and it's not just the spouses. It was other people in the community that did not have a connection necessarily by relation. And I just think that's so impressive that we as a body are like that we think that way. It's not a big deal for us to say, hey, if you need me at 3:00 in the morning, I'm going to be showing up, whatever it is. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I've got, I hear there's a small group in our church that the gentleman lost his wife, and he's been through some medical stuff going on in his own life. And then the other people in his small group have been coming and picking his kids up and taking them to school and picking them up from school to deliver them home, take them over to baseball games. Meals have been coming in now for months for this family. And I'm just proud to be a part of a church that we don't just talk about love, we're actually doing it.
Yeah. It's funny talking about examples of that. We have a couple in our small group. Their kids their daughter's getting married, and they brought up to a small group and said, we don't have enough money to get a catering staff together, so I guess our family's gonna have to do all the work, immediate family. And my whole small group said, hey, put an apron on us and we'll be
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so all of us are going to be doing the catering for the wedding of their daughter.
Nice.
I'm not going to be cooking, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're going to be serving and helping out and cleaning up and all that stuff.
There you go.
But that was just one way to help them, because they didn't have enough money to get like a catering staff together and all that other stuff. And then that way the family can be a part of the celebration. It's, I'm excited that it's happening, but I don't have to be immediately right there. I can be doing other things. And so that's just another example of, how small groups help and do that kind of stuff. You had one more, or you had two more, actually. You have one that was interesting, power in numbers. You talked about this as well.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that's that idea on the 2 or 3 where they gather together.
Okay.
When we gather together with other believers, it does send an incredible message that I'm not just standing alone. There's other people standing with me.
Yeah.
And in every other arena of life, when you see a whole mass of people coming at you, you get scared,
Yeah,
right?
right, yeah.
And that makes me reflect back on that story in the Old Testament where, the prophet and his servant are sitting in this house and they're surrounded by an army.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, we're going to die. The servant is saying to the prophet, and the prophet's like, Lord, open his eyes so he can really see what's going on. And the hills were filled with chariots of fire. It's a numbers game, right?
That'd be so cool.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be so cool to be able to see that. So numbers do matter. And where a church is unified together and all standing together, just think about, go all the way back to Genesis chapter 11 when you got the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
God comes down and he looks at the state of man at that point and he says, look, they're all speaking one language with one voice, trying to get something accomplished I told them not to do.
Right.
And so he confuses their language, the Tower of Babel. But But there's a hidden gem in there that when we all speak in unity together and in one language for one purpose, there's nothing that can stand in our way. And I think you can take that principle and apply it to Christianity, or apply it to your small group, or apply it to your church. Nothing will be able to stop us if we're all working together.
Yeah, and I think that is just a really interesting way of looking at it. I've never thought of our Bible that way, but it's definitely there. And I think that's really cool how we think about in the church that, when we talk about the body of Christ, and Paul describes the body, right?
Yeah.
He's not just mentioning one part. I mean, he begins to go through a whole list of parts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that come together to make one body. I think that when we get to this mindset where we can isolate ourselves by just watching the service on Facebook or being away from a community, and then we're still, kind of a part of the community.
Yeah.
I really think in my heart of hearts that's the best tool of the devil, is to keep you separated from the group.
Absolutely.
Because you are so susceptible then to all the garbage that's around there.
You've got a two-way thing going on. First of all, the body of Christ is not being encouraged by you, and then you're not being encouraged by the body of Christ.
Yeah.
And so the devil wins anytime he can keep you separated. And so important for us to make the effort. And, I talked about that. What are the three simplest kind of common denominator things that we need if we're going to count ourselves as a part of the faith community, besides your relationship with Jesus? Hey, you need to, number one, show up more often than not.
Yeah.
Find an area to serve so that if you're not there, it's missed.
Yep.
And then thirdly, of course, support with time, talent, and treasure. So
I think when you ask that the second question, or you just made that statement that if you don't show up, people would notice. I think we should say that not everybody in the church, out of 500 people, are going to notice that, but the people that are directly working with what you're doing are definitely going to notice. Mm-hmm. You are an integral part. And I think sometimes, people come to this mindset, if we don't do something big enough to where everybody notices, then we're not really doing anything effective. Mm-hmm. The truth is you are. I mean, if you show up to kids ministry and you're one of the assistants that helps out another assistant of an assistant,
right?
Doesn't matter. Yeah. They need you there because you're crucial to the well-being of those children.
1 Corinthians tells us that the more basic the part of the body, the more important it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can live without an ear. It's important, but you can live without it. But you can't live without your stomach, right?
Right. Yeah.
That one's hidden. That one's not very noticeable, but it will be felt.
It's not glamorized.
There you go. And I love that. I love
eventually
that
tries to get out, though, right?
Yeah.
Eventually the bubble gets a little big. All right. The last one that you talked about, and this was so funny, the first service didn't do it. Second service, when you said, "Can I get a witness?" You had people going, "Come on, preach it."
Yeah, I have that second congregation there is just like they're all into the support of it, and it went really, really well.
You were trying to lead into that first. I mean, the first service you just made the comment,
right?
Can I get a witness? And then you go into it.
Yeah.
When you said, "Can I get?" You couldn't even go any further because they're still going about, Jesus, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I love both services, and that second one is very entertaining.
That was hilarious. So, what is that? Can I get a witness? What does that mean then?
Well, that's that where two or three gather together. That's taken back to Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 15, that says, you can never go into court and have someone making an accusation against you and have it stick unless it's backed up by another witness or two, or where with two or three. And so that was that idea that we're being accused by the enemy constantly, that we're not worthy of the love of Jesus, we're not faithful followers, and he whispers those lies to us all the time. And of course, Jesus is our advocate. He's standing before the Father saying, "My blood is good enough. My blood covers this." But when we gather together and we pray and we're in unity, we're telling the enemy that you are speaking lies, and it's backed up by this witness.
And you mentioned, I think, a couple illustrations where you were talking about, like if somebody started saying something about you or about somebody in the congregation, and people know you because they have a relationship with you,
right?
They can attest and witness to the fact of who you are as a human being, what you're doing in the kingdom, and that's also a helpful thing to do. I mean, the whole power of numbers is helpful to us to stand, but the other part is we need advocates on our behalf in community. It's not like you just, I guess sometimes you look at relationships and families, everybody says I'm a part of this family by name, but the people that know you then can go above and beyond that and say, well, yeah, they have our last name, but we know them.
Yeah.
Same thing in the church community.
I'm telling you, I'm not saying I'm some kind of prophetic person, but I'm telling you that the world in which we're living now and what's coming next is that there will be accusations leveled against you that are completely untrue, not based on anything in reality, because we're living in the world now where the court system is your social media.
Right. Yeah.
And so they can make all kinds of accusations that are not backed up. And if you don't have people in your life that can say, nope, that's not the Alex that I know.
Yeah.
That's not the Alex I've ever seen. That's a complete fabricated lie. I'm telling you, folks, that's coming our way.
Yeah.
And it's coming very soon.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, between you and me and the Fence Post and everybody else on the podcast, you and I both got attacked on Facebook.
Yes.
Just a while back, saying that we were doing things and saying things we weren't saying. And I'll tell you what was amazing is people stepped up to the plate, and they weren't mean, but they came to the defense of you and myself and anybody else on staff. And I read those things, and I was just, I brought a tear to my eye thinking the fact that people have invested enough to watch and observe you and me and know what we're about, know what we speak about. And I was just, I was so impressed that, people are willing to do that, and that's what you find in the body of Christ. You find people that are willing to do that. They're not going to stay quiet. This is family. You don't mess with family.
Right.
You don't start picking on family unless, you got some real grievance. But I think that was just a really cool thing. And I can attest to the fact that, it's good to have witnesses and advocates on your side, especially when other people are trying to tear you apart and don't have all the truth.
Yep.
Don't have any of they didn't have any of the truth really, but it's just trying so hard to destroy what God's already doing.
Yeah.
It's just so good to have that power numbers, but also have advocates that are with you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So my friend, Pastor, what is next week's sermon?
All right. So next week's sermon is going to be, it's revanchism. And that's a word. Yeah, revanchism. It's a unique word. It's a real word. I didn't make it up.
All right. Oh, it's not a Biden word.
It means to go and reacquire what's been taken from you. Okay. And it's going to be based on this passage of scripture that we mentioned from 1 Samuel chapter 30.
All right.
And and so it's about getting back what the enemy has stolen from you.
All right.
And it'll be based on Christ. What Christ has got us in our salvation is more than what Adam lost.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so it's going to be a really powerful message. I'm really looking forward to it. Revanchism is how you say it.
Revanchism. I love it. That's good.
I looked it up. It's a real word.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Interesting word.
And I've never heard, I can say I have not heard more than one other sermon on this topic.
I've never heard a sermon like that with that word being used. I mean,
I've never heard a word that one being used, but the idea from 1 Samuel 30 is
not for some of the basic concepts you just brought up. I have, but revanchism I've never heard.
Yeah,
it's going to be a new word for everybody's lexicon to take with them to the week. Try to put that at the water cooler. Have you heard of revanchism?
Yeah,
and just see what people come up with definitions.
Yep,
that would be. We should do that for the podcast next week. Just
okay.
Yeah.
Do what now?
We should just call random places up.
Oh, and ask them what that word means?
And ask them if they can define the word on the radio show. We'll just say we're a radio show. Can you define the word revanchism and just see what kind of definitions they come up with?
That'd be awesome.
Wouldn't that be a lot of fun?
Yeah.
Hey, call the local whatever it is, Applebee's, and say, hey, I just wanted to ask you real quick. I just you're on a radio show. Do you know the word revanchism? And see what.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, we should do it. We'll get a list of numbers together.
Yep.
Of places we should call.
Okay.
And then just see what they answer them as.
I love that.
We might have to bleep a few, but we'll make it. We can edit that stuff out.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's it for us on the podcast. We were just so happy to have you here. And again, Joe, it was awesome.
Yes, thank you, Joe.
Have you? Yeah. I mean, you were a lot of fun. And we will talk to you guys next week. And again, we had 11 people answer that last Bible question.
It's growing.
So, we're having a good time. But the more podcasts, take that challenge this summer and be listening to us because we definitely will give you more of what you're looking for.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission. Now.